Jay Glazer hanging out with us now to start off hour number 3, as I told you he would be. Jay, I know you've watched a lot of Dallas Cowboy games over the years. Where does this rank in the Jerry Jones era in your mind in terms of about as low as it can get? I mean, I don't know that I can remember the Cowboys being in a worse position than they are as we wake up on Tuesday morning right now.
I've just never seen them hit by injuries the way they have. I mean, look, their strength was their offensive line. They have none left.
Yeah.
Then their strength was Dak Prescott. He goes down. For Zeke to be fumbling the way he does, their tight ends go down. The secondary goes down. Their linebackers go down. I mean, I've never seen a team hit this hard by injuries this early on. And remember the lack of training camp they had also. So, man, I don't have any answers for it. Normally you look at it and say, okay, are the injuries because they weren't able to train, or the injuries were, because they just came off the couch and, too many guys were quarantined and they didn't do anything at all. I don't know. I don't know the answer because I've never seen anything like it.
So a lot of people said, hey, there's a really talented wide receiver core here. We got CeeDee Lamb. We got Michael Gallup. We've got Amari Cooper. We saw the way the game ended with Andy Dalton coming in, throwing for a decent amount of yardage. He'll be able to step in. I think Jerry Jones basically made that argument in his weekly radio show. And then the bottom fell out of this Cowboy offense. We already knew they had a bad defense. What happens now?
I don't know. They have no choice because they're still atop the division. They can't just pack it up. They have no choice. And, they've got to now look at it and say, okay, look, this is what our offensive line is. Like, there's nothing we can do. This is what the O-line is. So how are we going to adjust the offense for that? How are we going to make it quicker? They're getting Leighton Vander Esch back for their defense. At least helps them with somebody who can call the defensive plays and get guys lined up. It's a little bit different, I think, if in a couple of weeks in with it, but there's still even that. Man, they're just so banged up there. And I think also if you look at it, we all thought the Cowboys had this great personnel, and I think they had a lot of names. I don't know how great the personnel really was at this point. I do think Dak is – look, I don't know. Right now we're still kind of in the I know we're all saying it looks great, but we're still in the infection range, so you got to make sure he gets out of this. It's 10 to 14 days after the surgery to make sure he comes out with no infection, because that's what, Alex Smith, he got the infection. They got to go back in, take out the hardware, all that. As long as he's good, they still intend to make him their future quarterback. They think, and for Dak's sitting in there telling the other quarterbacks, like, hey, it's 4 to 6 months. I'm going to be back in 3.5. But, they have no choice right now but to sit there and go, okay, this is what our personnel is, and we've got to figure something else out. But they're basically playing with a second and third string offense against everybody else.
We're talking with Jay Glazer, Fox NFL analyst, jack of all trades, master of breaking news. Who wins the NFC East now? You just said you can't go ahead and and throw everything in and say we're going to focus on next year. Somebody has to win this division. Who would you make the favorite, and how many games do they need to win it?
Oh, my God. Like 5? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy.
It's terrible, but that's why, look, all of them have shown some sort of fight along the way. And, Dallas did by some comebacks. Philly, even though they lost it to Baltimore this week, they showed some, even though they're even more banged up. They're losing Zach Ertz now for, looks like about a month. Miles Sanders for a few weeks. And, but they have Carson Wentz, right? So Carson now needs to put that team on his back somehow, some way. The Giants showed some fight, against Washington. Washington showed fight, and it was early on, but I think Washington's still in the midst of trying to change culture there and establish what a culture should be over there, because they've had such a bad football culture for so long. It's not going to happen for Ron Rivera in just a few weeks. So the answer to the question is, I mean, any of them could take it. Somebody's going to have to step up in the last 5 weeks and take it. And look, a lot of times, and this is why I don't like to do hot seat stories, because a lot of times we have, first half of the season, everybody talks about somebody getting fired, and we have had time and time again, and it even happened with Ron Rivera down in Carolina, then all of a sudden Riverboat Ron was born and reeled up a bunch, went to the playoffs, went to the Super Bowl, and if these teams start taking their personality with about 6 weeks to go, one of these teams with 5-6 weeks to go, is going to have to find their personality and realize, hey, this is we've got to step up above the rest of these guys because it's just such a weak division. Somebody has to. I don't know the answer to it. I would think the talent is probably Philly because of their quarterback. But everybody in Philly needs to stop sulking about what they become this year and realize, hey, we still could be the king of the mountain over here.
We're talking to Jay Glazer. Okay, when you look at the picture right now of the NFL, we're through week 6. Everybody has played at least 5 games. One of the big topics is what's going to happen with the Bucs. They were phenomenal, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, beating down the Packers. Do you think the Bucs should be considered where in the NFC right now? Should they be considered a favorite with what they did the Packers? I know they're 4-2 and the Packers are 4-1, and I know certainly that the Seahawks are 5-0, but the Seahawks don't have a defense at all. The Bucs to me look like a more complete team, and they've certainly got Brady, who most of the time. I know it didn't happen against the Bears, but most of the time you get him the ball late and give him a chance to win, he can pull it off.
You got to remember, too, guys like Tom Brady, they are a creature of reps. They need reps. Guys like, him, Drew Brees, and we're looking at Drew like, why is he struggling? Those guys aren't just, they're not like the Russell Wilsons. Hey, or Kyler Murray, we're just such athletic freaks so we could do something. Those guys need reps after reps after reps. They need to kind of outwork everybody. And they didn't have that, obviously, in OTAs or mini camps or training camp, or there's no preseason. So even as well as the Bucs are playing right now, we still have room to grow here with Tom Brady and Bruce Arians. They have 2 different philosophies. Like Bruce likes to he just wants to throw deep. He wants to gut you deep. That's what he cares about. He just wants to go. And Tom likes to kind of methodically gut you from the inside out. He wants to pick you apart underneath and inside, and then, he'll take some shots downfield. So I think those 2 guys are even kind of still finding their groove together. Bruce saying, okay, we'll do some things that Tom likes over here, and we're going to hear you out more on that. And Tom saying, okay, I'm going to hear more Bruce, what he likes out. And those guys still have a way to go to grow, which I think is scary for the NFC. That's the long version for me of that's actually scary for the NFC. But defensively, I know we all talked about their offense going into the season. We were all, like, behind the scenes, we were talking about their defense. Now their defense is just going to be, under Todd Bowles, just going to be a handful for everybody else.
I got a stat for you. Steelers 5-0, Ravens 5-1, Titans 5-0, Chiefs 5-1, Bears 5-1, Seahawks 5-0. You ready for it? The NFC East 5-18-1.
Yep.
I mean, it just is remarkable.
What you said, though, all those teams, they have their star players, right? The Steelers this year now, they're healthy, right? The Seahawks, they're healthy. The Ravens, they're healthy. The Titans, they've had their stars up. They lost Tyler Lewan, but they have their quarterback and their running back and their receivers. And the NFC East has just been decimated by injuries. And at least for the 2 teams that we thought would vie for, which is the Cowboys and the Eagles. The Steelers, man, that's the team people need to worry about.
All right, so Ryan Tannehill, we were talking about this earlier in the week. Ryan Tannehill has arguably, since he got the starting job last season when the Titans were 2-4, he's arguably been as good of a quarterback as there is in the NFL. Can you remember a reclamation project like this before, where a guy has come off the dumpster, right? I mean, they found him when he had almost no value coming out of Miami, gets a $100 million contract. Is this going to change the way people think about franchise quarterbacks going forward, or is Tannehill just a tremendous outlier and there's almost never reclamation projects like this that are going to work going forward?
No, that's why people always go after reclamation projects, because coaches will always look at guys like, hey, I could turn them around.
Yes.
I'm the one who could do this. That happens all the time. So with a guy like Ryan Tannehill was brought in to back up, Marcus Mariota. But the thing about Tannehill is that his last year in Miami, they thought he was about to shine and become a star. They absolutely loved him down there. It was like when he went down, they had a similar reaction to how it was in Minnesota with Teddy Bridgewater. Loved Teddy up there. So both those guys, and look, what Arthur Smith Arthur Smith is a name people need to really keep your ears out about. He's the offensive coordinator for the Titans. He's done such a good job there with Tannehill and Derrick Henry also. And, when GMs or owners look to hire somebody, a lot of times we hear about them wanting to hire offensive coaches because a lot of times you hire a defensive coach and they have a good offensive coordinator. Well, you'll lose that coordinator to a head coaching opening in the next year or two. So if you can get an offensive-minded head coach, then he's there for years and years, and you have that offense. He's a name that should be considered after this year.
As we look forward, we thought maybe the Bills at 4-0. And by the way, I agree with you, Arthur Smith. And to me, Arthur Smith calling the King Henry play there in overtime was just a guy feeling it play calling. I mean, they almost had 600 yards of offense. It's 3rd and 5. They put Derrick Henry into shotgun, and Vrabel said they were going to go for it on 4th down regardless. But, I mean, they just rammed it right in. And, it was an incredible way to end that game. Doubleheader Monday Night Football, we've talked a lot about the Cowboys. The Bills were sitting at 4-0, and a lot of people were saying, man, Josh Allen, shadow MVP candidate. He's kind of hanging around out there. They go on the road Tuesday, kind of a weird week, get drubbed by the Titans. They have 6 days to think about it, 6 days to get better. They got the world champs coming to their place, Kansas City Chiefs, and they got drubbed again, and they got physically beaten. Sean McDermott probably not going to like giving up 250 yards rushing, but what's your take right now on the Bills, contender or pretender?
No, contender. I think they'll be really good. Look, they ran in the world champs. And not only that, the Bills had to have 2 game plans at the exact same time because they didn't know, are we going to play
who
the
they
Titans?
Were playing. Yeah.
Are we going to play the Chiefs? When are we going to play them? And Sean McDermott, who is a really defensive, he's a really phenomenal defensive mind. He was just like, hey, no gripes, we have to deal with. That's it. We got to deal with. And, the coaches who don't gripe about what's going on, just like, hey, this is our new normal, no problem. That's going to help your team out a lot. So, but it's still in the end, I mean, think about it. You have to, split your time between 2 different game plans and 2 different teams. And, I just think they went in there against the Chiefs. I mean, weather was terrible. That defensive of the Chiefs really brought it at Allen. I just think he had a very off night, but I think he's going to be a stud. I think he is going to be absolute stud. I'm a big believer in him. I'm a buyer of the Bills, definitely.
We're here with Jay Glazer, Fox NFL analyst. Final question for you. How does the NFL resolve the season going forward? Right now, they seem to have at least handled the COVID issues. Do they add another week to the end of the year? How do you think this thing shakes out schedule-wise for the NFL?
I don't think they want to, but if they have to, they have it there. But that's why, look, the Panthers, right, they test positive Monday. One Panther does. And they immediately go, okay, let's shut down for 2 days. Let's just shut it down, keep everybody isolated, make sure this thing doesn't spread, and then everybody's safe to play on Sunday. And I think they're going to continue to do that. Even look, the Titans, the league kind of put it out a couple, weeks ago, they're going to come down really hard. They and the Players Union both sent, attorneys down there to interview and find out, okay, why was there an outbreak with the Titans? What are these guys doing? And, they turned it around in the last 2 weeks, all right, we're not really dropping the hammer. People just got to understand you can't get lax with this thing because it could spread real fast, and we can't have that. So, it's really going to be the responsibility of these teams to just continue to be, they've got to almost be overprotective in order to really finish this season on time.
Jay Glazer, we appreciate the time, my man. Hope to talk to you again soon, and appreciate it.